What's up, everybody? We're the Duderes, and this is Anime Overload. On today's episode, we bring you reviews of the last two episodes for Yatterman Night. Yatterman Night Episode 5. The gang come across a boy named Takashi who enters himself and Galena into a sumo tournament. After some intense training, the two inevitably face off against each other in the semifinals, with Takashi winning easily. However, Takashi's final opponent turns out to be a giant yachter mech, who, despite some tough resistance from Takashi, overpowers him. Realizing the entire tournament was rigged in the Yatterman's favor, the Duranbo gang bring out their own Genghis Khan mech to fight against the yachter mechs, defeating all the mechs and becoming the champions of all the fighting tournaments. Durango gives their winnings to Takashi so he can help his mother. So episode 5, what'd you think?
Episode 5, the comedy really took a forefront in this one, and plot progression is out of the car, not even in the car. Yeah, this is the comedy's in the front seat. No, it was a funny episode. I mean, I feel, especially look at the beginning of the episode where they hid from the Yatterman soldiers in snowmen.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, it's funny that you're talking about the snowmen is they talk, everybody in this episode, there seemed to be this overlying thing of having to go pee.
Yeah.
Especially the Takashi kid.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It just, like, really? We need this much urination in a single episode.
In this comedy episode, yes. The comedy episode's not complete without some urination.
It'd be a different thing maybe if, they just, he decided that he was going to, go and pee on some yachter soldiers. Maybe that would have been a little bit more funny, but, it was just kind of, wherever and anywhere he could go.
Mm-hmm. Just, yeah, I mean, look at Oda, the Honorable Oda. He went on one of the yachter snow statues.
He's a pig, though. That's kind of expected, But, like when they're training, Galena is training sumo, out of nowhere, Takashi screams, "I have to pee!" and runs off. And, and that was just kind of the weird part of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really like the fact that that they actually kind of progressed character-wise a little bit. And we got to see Galena kind of come front and center, and he actually did something.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't really want to, but he did.
If you look where we left off from last episode, it was really emotional. It was really like just a sucker punch to the gut and how it ended. So it was nice that they kind of bounced back with a comedy episode, something to be like, yeah, this show is still funny though. We're still gonna have the lighthearted stuff that you love. So, in a way that was good, because last week, the week before, I should say, was, really quite sad. But, I mean, in terms of this episode, it was entertaining. The mech fights were pretty cool. The comedy was all right. I just didn't think it was actually the greatest of episodes. I was actually kind of bored with it halfway through. I wasn't really a fan of the different styles of fighting thing and the Galena training and stuff. I mean, sure, it was all funny, and I still enjoy the comedy in the show, but, just in terms of all the episodes so far, I would probably say this is one of the worst.
I think it was weak in a lot of areas. I honestly would say that I think that the episode before this one, in my opinion, was the worst episode.
How dare you?
I mean, it was that is all aboard the feels train with the last episode, and
I think it had guts, but I think it had a lot of good exposure to what was going on in the world.
It did. It was just, I don't know. I guess I was with this show, I wasn't expecting to be that emotionally downing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and so this episode definitely picked it up. Was more lighthearted. The only thing one of the things I really, really disliked, specifically with Galena, is that he seems to make this progress as a character that, he can do things on his own. Like, the first time we see him, the first episode where we first meet him, he decides, I'm going to do away with the dice. I don't need it to make my decisions. But he's right back, the very next episode, he's right back to making decisions with those dice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really kind of irritating that he takes 2 steps forward and then 17 backwards. I really, at this point, this character either needs to make some progress, and do something with himself, be, helpful to the group, other than making costumes, and otherwise, I think he needs to go.
I think I mean, he's a good caretaker for Allie as well. So, I mean, there's that. But I think at one point he'll drop the dice. I think it'll be, a split-second thing where everybody's in danger and it is up to him to save the day. So, I'm waiting for that moment. That's why I'm kind of giving it a pass, because I feel like it's building up to this moment of he no longer should be using these dice. He needs to make his own decisions as his own man. So, that's why I am personally kind of giving it a pass. But as for this episode, I'd probably give it. I mean, it's either 2.5 or 3 for me. Kind of in that area. What do you think?
I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, it's comedy on this. I mean, plot progression is nowhere with this episode. And again, we see Galena, his character, jump ahead, jump right backwards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so his character development just goes absolutely nowhere. We have this weird urination cliche this episode, and other than the comedy, that was really the only high point of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, the action was pretty good too, well animated and all that fun stuff. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I think we'd say it's a relatively weak episode. But with that, let's move on to episode 6. Yatterman Night Episode 6. With the gang constantly being pursued by Goro, Leopard gets upset when Voltkatze and Elefantis tell her to give up on pursuing the Yattermen and goes off on her own, only to be chased by Yatter soldiers. Meanwhile, as the others are also ambushed, they end up leaving behind Galena, who is captured by Goro. Winding up all alone and injured, Leopard is rescued by an old man who treats her injuries and gives her shelter. The next morning, as Goro prepares to have Galena executed to lure out the gang, Duranjo, encouraged by the man's words, goes to rescue him, soon aided by the rest of the gang in their flower picker mech. So, what did you think of this episode?
This episode raises a lot of questions, specifically to Goro's identity and the mechanical dog. Specifically because we see, that dog, when he jumped on Galena, I was like, oh, cool, we're going to finally get rid of Galena.
Fuck you.
I'm kind of waiting for it, but the dog seemed more happy to see him than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this picture of Allie with a dog, which looks very much like the Robo Dog.
Yeah.
And a silhouette of someone who looks surprisingly a lot like Goro. So is that her dad, brother, something like that? Because I don't really recall if they ever said that she had a brother other than they took her parents and her dog.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think that that's what's coming about with that, which would be a nice twist.
Mm-hmm.
But we see that the group really wants Duranjo to give up on her mission of giving the Yattermen a good forehead flicking.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see their reasoning for this. They don't want anything bad happen to her, and they're really not making a lot of progress overall.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not having it at all and runs off on her own, and she's really good on a unicycle apparently.
Yeah.
But we see that as she crashes into that guy's persimmon shop, she thought about stealing from him, but she sticks to her morals, and that stealing is wrong, and that if she did that, she'd be no better than the Yattermen.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes hungry, and the same guy saves her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really nice to see that, the fact that this stranger helped her in that way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just that small act of kindness, I guess. I mean, I guess that hers in a way it was an act of kindness of her not stealing. So, and that kind of raises another question, is this something where, is she going to get so desperate where she will start, doing something like that? I mean, they did compare her to an angel this episode, so I'm kind of thinking in a way, maybe not. Maybe she'll always stay as pure as we see her, So, and as for this episode, absolutely fantastic. I would actually say it's probably the best Yatterman Night episode so far.
I'm gonna agree. I mean, we had, there wasn't really any comedy to this, but we definitely see that the characters were, they're dropping these, little breadcrumbs of other plot points that are going to come into play here. I'm gonna guess in the very near future.
Mm-hmm.
But we see that her resolve is absolute in that, she wants to do this. She needs to avenge her mom in her own way.
Mm-hmm.
And, her companions, they come to realize that they can't abandon her. They can't force her to give this up, and all they can do is support her.
Mm-hmm.
And we see little flashbacks of why
they do what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice because, we really haven't learned a lot about those two, so it was nice to see them, remember the reason why they're doing what they're doing and why they do want revenge as well. So, everybody got I think got character development, even Galena and everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was some comedy in it, so, we'll always have laughs in Yatterman Night. I've learned that, But plot progression, just spectacular.
I mean, the one thing that was kind of, I felt was a little lacking plot-wise,
mm-hmm.
was the old man. The persimmon guy. He does basically die to help her.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit more information on him would have been nice. I guess it's not necessary, but it would have been nice overall.
I mean, yeah, it would have been nice, but it wasn't necessary, so I would never knock it for not telling us who he is. I think it was just the fact that he is the first citizen that we've seen so far stand up to the Yattermans, besides Duranvo and the gang.
I guess I would have just liked to see why he was willing to do it.
I think it's because he saw inspiration inside Leopard. I think he's like, wow, she might really change what's going on right now. And they even said Eternal Winter, so I'm like, wait a second. So I wonder if that has anything to do with the meteor strike, or if it's got anything to do with the Yattermans, because, it's clear that this is kind of like a really, like, hellish world. So, it was just, like, all together. An inspiring episode, action-y episode. It was a little bit funny. A lot of character progression. It was absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed every single second of it, so that's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 4.5.
That's fine.
I don't want to be, that guy, but, I mean, it was a great episode. It just wasn't perfect.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I think maybe I just took a little bit more away from it than you did. But I do think that plot point with Goro is interesting. But I don't know if this show is as obvious as it tries to make itself out to be. I think they might. I mean, I can see him being a family friend.
It's possible. I mean, and the only thing that it's really just hinted at is that he is that guy in that photo.
Or he could be an uncle or just a family, family member of some sort.
So
and you see that he got, like, I guess mechanized because he's got the metal parts, and then the dog is metal too. So
when they said they captured a kid named Galena, something seemed to click at him to he recognized the name.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking, maybe he was a family member at some point and he got taken away as well. That's why I don't want to leave it. That's why I'm not going to sit here and say yes, that it's definitely her being him being the father. I mean, that's an obvious, huge possibility, but I want to believe that they've got something a little bit more intricate and less obvious and planned.
Yeah.
Planned.
So, I mean, we'll definitely see where that goes, but tell us what you think. Leave us a comment, and just tell us, your thoughts on the episode. Was there something that, you didn't like, what our opinion on it, or did we miss something completely,
Yeah. I feel like Yatterman Night's kind of one of the, I don't know, like the hidden gems of this season that a lot of people don't know about, because it's kind of, like when you look at the cover images and all that stuff, it's weird. It looks different. So I don't think a lot of people know, what it is or watch it or, whatever. So if you are watching it, let us know what you think about it. I'm actually interested to see what people think about the show, because it's got its ups and downs, but overall, I would say it's quite an excellent package.
It is, and I don't think anybody that does go out to watch it will be overall disappointed in it.
I think anyone who's watched it so far has been satisfied, because I've yet to see any real negative comments about the show of people who watch it. So, like we said, if you like the show, let us know what you think about it, and feel free to give us a like if you like the video, and if you want to subscribe to us. We'll always be putting out these videos for the rest of the winter 2014-2015 season now. So, I keep forgetting it's the new year. So, well, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Son of a bitch. Are you fucking serious? Are you serious right now?
I think it was just sitting too close to the edge.
What'd you think of the last Yatterman Night, by the way? Wasn't it a fucking good episode?
The shit got done the last couple episodes.
Episode 5 I thought was terrible, but episode 6 was really, really good.
Well, what I really liked about episode 5 is the fact that they made a mecha that did something. Now, I mean, though it was kind of weird, you know, we see that one guy, he took a bullet for her, so...
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
You know, the fact that they were talking, though, that maybe she really is an angel.
She certainly acts like one sometimes. She's adorable.